When Vibe 105 reps, the whole city takes notice. We Reppin' is a northern salute to the top talents coming out the city and across Canada. If you're reppin', we're reppin'.
Toronto's diverse music mix, Vibe 105. What's going on, y'all? It's your girl, NoBetterNina, and today I am joined by a very talented young lady who had the chance to perform at quite a bit of showcases across the city before we went into lockdown. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Azaria.
Thank you. Thank you.
How are you doing today? We're very excited to have you.
I'm actually doing pretty good. I'm feeling very positive today.
That's good. Positive vibes are always good.
Right? No, it's been crazy, just trying to work and obviously handle quarantine and stuff. So
Definitely. And we will get into that a little bit later. But for now, I want to start from the beginning. So you released your debut single, correct me if I'm wrong, Nothing Guaranteed, in January of last year. So take us through this journey of yours and how we got here, starting with that debut single.
Oh my God. Okay, let's think. Okay, so what happened was that I started just feeling back into music because I choreographed a show at my school at U of T called Dream Girls, and I saw everyone becoming a creative, and I was like, why can't I pursue that as well? Because I saw people making it a tangible career, and the process of the song was that I was dating a guy. I wouldn't even say dating, but you know what I mean. You're talking to a guy, whatever.
Situationship or whatever, yeah.
And, he fronted as if he wanted something, but he clearly didn't. So the song was literally my frustration of let's figure it out. I used to be that crazy Cancer that used to check messages to see what time they messaged you, that girl.
Yeah.
I'm past that phase now. And so I just wrote a rap about it. And then my boy, one of my producers, Keon, he started the beat from scratch as he was at my house. And, I got all my frustration. I ended up recording it at my dad's studio. And then from there, we shot the cover, and it was literally my first trial run. How crazy a trial run. So that's pretty much what happened.
Yeah. And now we're here. So you'd mentioned you recorded at your dad's studio. So do you have a family history of music as well?
Yeah. So my parents actually met through music, which is very cute.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is cute.
Yeah. My mom was the singer and my dad was the drummer. And then he decided to become a producer, to stay with my mom. Very cute. So he is one of the producers for Who Let the Dogs Out.
Oh, wow.
And yeah. So pretty much we were surrounded by music our whole life. I used to sit on the ground as he was mixing and mastering, going back and forth the studio. And it just kind of ended up being ingrained passion. He never pushed it on you. I know a lot of parents, when they see their child interested in music, they're like, we're going to push. He never did that. But I think once I decided to take it seriously, it was okay, these are the steps that we need to be taking.
That's awesome. And so I read in your bio that you're pretty big on collabing with female artists. Now, as an artist, who would you credit your inspiration to, other than your parents?
Whew. Okay, this is a loaded question because I have tons of female inspirations, but I love them for different things. Obviously, Beyonce for her performance ability and the way she professes. Missy Elliott and Mariah Carey for their songwriting abilities and skills. And also, I love Ariana Grande. I don't know if she'll be hearing this, obviously, but I love her. Her, I love Victoria Monet. I think for Victoria, I love the way she brands and expresses her Cancerian self through her music. I feel like every time I hear a project, it's just my heart. And then all of those women, for example, Victoria Monet, Kiana Lede, and those guys, and Bia, the way they move through the music industry is assertive, which is something that they don't allow women to do on a regular basis. And Rihanna, obviously.
Yeah.
So I just really appreciate the fact that they're able to profess themselves in that manner.
Mm-hmm.
It paves the way for us to be able to have the freedom that men do. You
Exactly.
know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. That Ariana Grande album, though, that was fire.
I just did a reel to it too. Oh,
Yeah, I
listen
absolutely,
to
it's still on
everything.
replay like to this day. It's so good. So as I mentioned off the top, you got a good handful of performances in before we actually went into lockdown. Tell me about some of your biggest takeaways or learning experiences from these performances that you hope to apply to future performances whenever this is all over.
Yeah, no, of course. I learned so much because it was my first time like putting together a show in terms of like my own vision and what I want. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think the first thing is making sure you have a team to delegate to. You know, I don't need to take on everything. As much as I like to have my hand in every pot, the reality is you can't do it.
Yeah.
You know, you need people to help you, especially in the type of like meticulous show that I like creating. I think I think another one would be connecting with the fans more. I find sometimes when I perform, like the click in my head, I like forget to connect with audience sometimes because I don't know, like you want to perform with them, but you just want to connect with them. You want to feel them, you know, like I used to watch Usher's Truth Tour and like the energy he would give, you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
there's just a certain je ne sais quoi, right? And I think the second one is that I'd like to collaborate with more artists.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't want to do a performance by myself.
Yeah.
Like I have my dancers, but then it's nice to collaborate with other artists. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we're going to get into your dancers in a little bit, but just from you mentioning that, if you could collab with a Toronto artist for a performance, is there anyone specifically that you have in mind that you'd like to, or just any artist in general, maybe?
So in terms of Toronto, Javia is beautiful. Javia
Yes.
Mighty, her energy when she like pushes and performs, I really enjoy her energy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of anyone else from Toronto. In terms of performance in general,
Yeah.
my dream performance would be Janet Jackson.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I'd probably cry on stage because I've seen her live.
Yeah.
But like, I think I would cry just because she obviously has such a beautiful spirit, but she becomes a completely different person when she performs, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. So, as you mentioned, you have dancers at your performances, and I can personally say you are the first upcoming artist who I have seen that choreographs their performances and has dancers on stage with them. So, are you a dancer yourself, or did you learn these dances just for the purpose of your performances?
So I've been a dancer. My mother put me in dance at 4, and I said I didn't want to go. But then I went back because
Yeah.
I was like, Mom, what happened to dance? I competed with the city of Brampton, and I actually am a dance teacher. That's like my other job. So
Okay.
yeah, so I was a dancer, and then when I started performing and like wanting to make it a career, I was like, I obviously want dance because for me, I'm gonna sound so old. I'm gonna sound so old school, but for me, the je ne sais quoi of a performance was like the icing of the cake of the dancing, the energy, the movement. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I want to be entertained. I want
Yeah.
to see you do something that I'm like feeling the energy of you doing it on stage. And I think dance is always a big part of performing.
Mm-hmm.
So when it came to me moving into my music and performing, I felt like dance was essential. And
Yeah.
it isn't just dancing to my own music, because the reality is that when you perform your own music, you have to focus on singing as well. But like, we have to make sure we have the dance breaks.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. It brings it all together kind of like as a package deal almost in a sense, because it's true when you go to concerts of these big artists in these stadiums, they always have dancers. Like always.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
And
definitely, yeah, sorry, continue.
no, I was going to say the reality is too is like, for example, if you're not performing, if you're not with dancers now, later on, you'll end up with dancers later. You know what I mean? Like, look at Megan. Megan had a couple of dancers when she first started off. Now she has a whole team.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So what kind of dance did you do?
So as a kid, I specialized in jazz, musical theater, and hip hop.
Okay, wow.
I absolutely loved it. And I did like duets and trios and stuff as a kid. And then I just recently started doing heels when I got into school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanted to do hip hop dancing, but my knees, I don't have Megan Thee Stallion knees, so.
Hey, you don't need it. It just depends on the style. Like when I teach my kids, I teach old school hip hop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's good to know. Maybe I'll consider it in the new year. So while doing my research, I noticed that in songwriting for yourself, you also do it for others. So take me through that process of yours, starting with how you draw your inspo to getting it down on paper and to the right artist.
So I do it two ways. I either have a song idea, and if the song idea doesn't fit my energy or like who I am as an individual at the time, I usually just shop it out. Mm-hmm. But sometimes I'll like think of a song or think of a person or an energy and be like, this song sounds like it could be for Shansia. This song sounds like it could be for, I think I wrote a song that was like inspired for like a Kelly Rowland vibe. You know what I mean? And then you just start writing, being in their shoes, because the whole point of being a songwriter is to tell the other person's story, right? Mm-hmm. So one person I recently shopped, and ironically, I'm on the course because they were like, I don't think she should sing it. Tatty, So Batty, we did this song, and so I'm not a stripper. I've never done that life. I've just never done it, but I've been around dancers and strippers and see how hard they work. You know what I mean? So I wrote a song based off of the life of a hustler, a stripper, because the reality is there are these men throwing money and you're hustling it, taking it and investing it in something else that you need done. Mm-hmm. And not a lot of people see that side of stripping. Now, mind you, I've never lived that lifestyle, so that song would never be for me. Never. Yeah. Right? But then you just shop it to someone. So for example, Tatty used to be a stripper. She knows the hustle and she knows the grind of those girls and everything. So I just feel like it's thinking of a concept and figuring out who it should be delegated to and who can tell that story the best, you know? Mm-hmm.
And I kind of want to switch gears now and get into something a little bit more serious. While we were on lockdown, one of the movements that came to the forefront was the Black Lives Matter movement. And obviously you yourself being a Black woman, this is something that you're very vocal about and just the everyday struggles and tragedies that the Black community endures. So I know that you went to a local protest. Could you maybe share with us what that experience was like for you?
Yeah, so I've never been to a protest. Mm-hmm. My mother promptly asked me in the morning to come, and I was scared to protest just because of obviously what's going on with the police, and in terms of obviously the pandemic and everything like that. We want to make sure that we're being safe. But you know, we went down, we protested, and I think I just honestly wanted to just cry the whole time. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I wanted to cry was just because I really don't want this reality for my kids. The reality is that I'm going to have kids that are Black. And obviously my mother didn't want that for me, right? Yeah. And she's fighting for that because she doesn't want me and my kids and vice versa to go through that experience, or any Black children go through that experience. But it was just really painful to watch. But then it's also painful to watch the marginalization levels within the within the movement itself. You know, I studied social movements, and a lot of people feel like it's isolated phenomenons, but a lot of movements are overlapping. So for example, like we can't just fight for Black heterosexual rights. We have to fight for trans, we have to fight for the LGBTQIA plus community. And I think it's just hard to process the fact that, you know, some people are on board and some people are not. And the reality is that there are so many people fighting for their lives in other ways. This isn't the first time we've had a killing in that way at the time. And there were killings prior that people didn't pay attention to because they're not marginalized in like lower marginalization demographics. So, you know, I'm very vocal about advocating for Black people, but also all marginalized groups in general. And I make it a point, for example, like on our podcast, for us to hear their stories. Like, for example, we had queer, 2 non-binary individuals explaining their experiences, and as well as 2 gay Black men and 2 bisexual Black women, just to understand their shoes. Because the reality is, you're not going to learn it. You're not going to understand unless you learn, unless you have that education.
Yeah, it's definitely important to have those conversations. And I'm glad that you brought up your podcast, because that was something I was going to ask you next. So you're just reading my mind here. So this podcast of yours, what's it called? How did it come about? How long have you guys been doing it for? Tell us about it.
So our podcast is called Bad Gyal Chat.
Okay.
Maroon and I. So, you know, we met in university, we met in school, and we always had conversations. And, you know, I love her, but we have completely opposing opinions. I'm a Cancer, she's a Scorpio Sag. It's just a whole other ballgame of understanding, right? So we had one girlfriend that was like, y'all should start a podcast. And I started a podcast prior, but it was too much for me to take on by myself. And so we've only been doing it for a year and a bit, since August 2019. And I think the level of love and experience that we, like, the amount of love, experience, and joy that we have having growing conversations. You know, we've talked about homophobia. We've talked about being a Black woman. We talked about dating in Toronto, because it's very interesting. You know, like, we want to share our experiences as Jamaican descendants in specifically Toronto, because we feel there are so many people that identify with us. We get so many messages that are like, oh my God, we have the same experience, or just sharing our platform to fight for other marginalized groups. Yeah. So we're so passionate about it, and it's so funny. Yeah.
And I know I was doing some research and I saw that you guys are doing a Christmas giveaway. So talk to me about that.
So the Christmas giveaway is actually not with Bad Gyal Chat. It's me specifically to also celebrate the release of the Christmas songs, but that's not the focus of it. So for me, I am really passionate about giving back. For example, like for my birthday, we did a fundraiser to support Black Creek Community Farms for giving lunches to kids that couldn't afford it during COVID. So this year, you know what? I sat back and I was like, I don't really need anything. Like, I'm so satisfied that where I am in this moment right now, because, you know, with COVID, we realized that life is, you know, short. And we have to make sure that we are giving back to people. So, you know, I told my publicist, Charmed, I was like, I want to do something and I want to give back. So the fundraiser is basically, we're fundraising $770 Canadian, which is 500 US. I partnered with Aphrodite. And what we're doing is we're fundraising money, but $5 equal a raffle giveaway. $5 equals a raffle ticket to enter into a giveaway. And what's so special about this giveaway is that it's all Black female-owned businesses.
Oh, awesome.
I'm very passionate about it. Right now, I'm wearing a Black woman-owned business. Just shop that. And it's just to give back to our community, and as well as give back to people in the city. So for my half of the money, I'm giving it to Empower Her Sis. It's an organization in Toronto that actually supports Black women that struggle with homelessness. And then Aphrodite, because she's in Philadelphia, she's giving back to Philadelphia Home Project. Just because I feel like, you know, I'm blessed to have a house over my head, to be able to go back to my family members and spend time with them. And the reality is that there's so many people that are struggling. Why wouldn't you be able to help them if you have even the bare minimum? You know, I am not currently right now rich, but the reality is that I do have the means to be able to support and help other people in different ways. So
exactly. I love that. I love that you're able to give back. And I love how you already embody the celebrity persona with I'm wearing.
just want to support, like, it's not even the celebrity. I don't even care about that. I just want to put on the people that are passionate, that work hard. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I love that. I totally love that. And we appreciate it for sure. Cause you're putting everyone else on now too, which is great. So do you manage yourself or do you have a manager, to kind of help you out with everything right now?
So I don't have a manager.
Okay.
I was told to only get a manager naturally. You know what I mean? To make sure that they have their best interests.
No, for sure. Definitely. That makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. So, yeah.
No, it's okay. I have, I would say she's my publicist, but we've never, like, content creative, like, partner in crime, I feel like.
Yeah.
Felicia Charmed, and she is helping me coordinate everything for the future. And, like, obviously I'm the executor, but in terms of, like, how to roll out and curate the kind of, like, brand quotations that I'm going for, whatever. She's been spot on, and she's an amazing help.
So, okay, so you have Felicia helping you out, which is awesome. But what are some of your best practices when it comes to balancing your career as an upcoming artist, executing this brand of yours, and your podcast? Because that is a lot.
No, it is a lot. It is a lot. Scheduling. Yeah. Scheduling. Calendar. And we also pre-record some things. So for example, like our interviews, we pre-record them and just make sure they're timeless. Okay. And then say we can't record like a updated version of an episode or something like that, we have like episodes in the vault. In terms of music, it's what happens with music, I find, is that it gets busy at times. You just have to plan for when you're busy. So for example, like I had the Christmas drop now. The podcast just ended. So, you know, you plan around that. And then when the podcast comes back out, I'll be like, Mish, this week I am not available. Yeah. And she also is still in school too. Yeah. So, you know, we have to work around all three of our schedules, but it's nice because with a podcast, we divvy up the work.
Yeah, exactly. That's always helpful for sure. With the pandemic happening, you were still able to put out Christmas music, which we will get into at the end of this interview. But what else did you get yourself into throughout these weird times? How did you stay busy musically?
You know, I think at the beginning I became really depressed just because, you know, it's like I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw everyone creating music or everyone dropping music. And I felt so sad just because like my project literally got delayed because I literally had like 2 more songs to record. Yeah. Mix and master at the time. And so, you know, you just start mixing your pot in other things. I started, you know, songwriting for other artists because I just felt like that's something my godfather was like, I think you would really strive in it. And I enjoy it so much. So it ended up creating another creative bag, but I wouldn't regret it because I feel like creatively, I've like, I wouldn't say solidified because we're always growing, but I think I really found my purpose and what I want to pursue in the pandemic, you know?
Yeah. And so you had mentioned this project of yours being delayed. Now, what can we expect from you in the new year?
So I'm planning on dropping music. I don't want to give dates. Okay. We're out here trying to figure out, like, because I had plans with dancers and dramatic stuff. And then, you know, the pandemic, we got closed down again. Yep. Even though I was going to make sure everyone gets a COVID test the day before, we weren't doing it, like, you know. But, you know, it's hard to, especially because I love having dancers, it's hard to coordinate dancers in a pandemic. Right?
It's hard to coordinate anything in a pandemic.
110%. But even just like the sweating and like people being in a room and like, it's just, too much. Yeah. It was so funny because my girlfriend was like, SZA did it. And I was like, SZA has $1 million budget. SZA and Cardi got everyone to get a COVID test.
Exactly.
So so I will be dropping so much new music next year. Like so much. Like we're just running because now I don't have school anymore because I graduated. So
Congrats.
Running. Thank you.
It's nice to get that out the way with. So where can listeners check out your music and follow you on social media?
So music-wise, I do have a website. It's azariaartistry.com. And then they can also check my Instagram, azaria.artistry.com. Oh, God, no. The Instagram is azaria.artistry.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. And then music's available on all streaming platforms. And I will be releasing a visualizer when this episode comes out. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Be sure to keep it locked right here to Vibe 105 for the rest of the midday vibe. And make sure you check out Azaria's music on all streaming platforms. And here she is right now with Santa Baby.
Santa Baby, slip a sable under the tree for me. I've been an awful good girl, Santa Baby. So hurry down the chimney tonight. Santa Baby, a 54 convertible to light blue.
Your sound, your vibe. Toronto's diverse music mix. Vibe 105.